This one's coming from Flux Official in their Medium blog post, and it says, against all odds, the Flux approach to Web3 challenges. Web3 is here to stay despite the fears, rumors, hypes, controversies, and rife speculation that have trailed this rapidly evolving version of the web. It is gradually becoming a fact that Web3 is imminent future of the internet. And if anything, recent developments have appeared to support this fact. From Andreessen Horowitz's $4.5 billion investment in May to Binance's latest $500M fund for Web3 startups, investments have continued to pour heavily into the Web3 space, even in the middle of the crypto winter. However, despite the Web3 frenzy that has taken over the world of blockchain solutions and decentralized applications, some experts still view the concept of Web3 with some cynicism. While ardent disciplines of technology may quickly dismiss these misgivings as more FUD and reluctance to the changing landscape of the web, the fact remains that Web3 is emerging technology. As with every new technology, there is always room for improvement, optimization, and fine-tuning. So let's take a few steps back and look into what the challenges associated with Web3 ecosystems and how Flux provides infrastructure to bridge these gaps. One of the questions raised regarding the Web3 internet is the high bar of technological know-how required. Due to the relatively complex nature of Web3 and associated technologies, there are fears that the steep learning curve might be a significant bottleneck that could stifle the ecosystem's growth. For Web3 to obtain or achieve mass adoption by the general public, it must be easy to build and use. However, compared to existing Web2 products, there are severe limitations in availability, resources, and expertise needed to educate and facilitate easy accessibility of the Web3 ecosystem. This is an opportunity that I would point out to a lot of people, and even at the very basics of Web3, you should be getting in and educating yourself on even prior technologies for Web2, and then you can start to see how these pieces and parts need to be put together into Web3 to be successful. This is why when I talk about Flux a lot, I say like I'm super excited about the technology, not so much necessarily because of what they tell me, right? Not because of the price of Flux, not because of, talking to Daniel Keller or any of the PR moves, but because I've used it and I have experience in the industry, meaning that when I see the pieces put together to where I'm able to deploy something on Flux, I go, ding, and the light bulb goes off and I say, this is it. This is the one that actually works. This is the one that actually does something. I don't have to file some sort of request to participate on some Web3 project that doesn't allow people in and doesn't whitelist them and keeps them all internal. I can do this now, today, at this very moment, and that is what makes Flux special. Many still struggle with the concepts of dApps, smart contracts, and the possibility of a world outside the familiar search engines and centralized social media. Going deeper down the rabbit hole, Web3 cross-platform versatility will require the synchronization of resources across different chains, ecosystems, and devices. This, of course, will require developers to learn new and evolving technologies. The learning curve involved has been argued to have the potential to slow down the proliferation of Web3 dApps and discourage new users. And this is fair. There is a book that I would highly recommend called Outliers, and it's about highly successful people. One of the things that it talks about initially is kind of the birth date and birth time, birth years specifically of certain highly successful people. And they all seem to share, of course, certain birth years for the most part, because what it ended up being is that they were able to essentially find themselves in a place where they were young enough to see the change and then capitalize on that change, and not too old to push it off and say that's just a dumb new way of doing it. And then they were able to get in the work to actually get the expertise for when the new technology was available. So if you take a look at someone like Steve Jobs or, of course, Bill Gates, part of their success came from the birth year that they shared together, and then their young access to basically timeshare computers, which were connections to mainframe computers in their junior high school years, to where they were able to be at the point of being successful and have the full knowledge of what they needed to do by the time that technology came to fruition. It gave them a significant advantage. This is your opportunity for that significant advantage. Now, technically, my birth year is a little too old for this, but I'm going to go ahead and follow through it. I think we live a little bit longer, so maybe I have a little bit of a better chance. But if you're in your 20s and you can really get in and dig in and start to figure out W3, but Web3, and start to basically become an expert in that, which by all means will probably take you 10 years by all studies that have shown, or 10,000 hours, whichever comes first, more likely 10 years. You will have yourself in a position in your 30s to absolutely capitalize on this. And it doesn't require any investment outside of investment in yourself. And that is the best kind of investment you can do. And so what do I mean by that? That means you don't need any money to invest in this particular endeavor. You just need time and dedication. And I highly recommend it. Build the new on the old. Deploying apps on the Flux ecosystem does not require a waiting period to learn new technologies. Flux utilizes the MEVN stack, MongoDB, Express, Vue.javascript or JS, and Node. So Node.js, which is already mainstream and enjoys a large community base. This allows for fast deployment of dApps and easy access to resources needed to troubleshoot any problem. Containerization via Docker is already a norm for creating portable and flexible applications. And once again, all of these things that they're mentioning is why, as a Web 2 guy, I was able to pop into Flux and be like, oh, I see what's happening here, right? Oh, I know how to do this. I can do this, and then I can deploy on the blockchain. Oh, I did it. Awesome. This is what sets Flux apart that you guys need to pay attention to. Flux operating software, Flux OS, makes cross-chain application deployment possible. Flux Incubator Labs support developers trying to bring new dApps to the ecosystem, while the vibrant open source community provides such a rich resource base for Web3 education. Currently, it would seem that much of the infrastructure backing the Web3 internet originates mainly from centralized structures. And that is true. While many networks in Web3 lay claim to decentralization, they remain the many heads of centralized Hydra at the core. For example, some of the issues that we've seen with DeFi applications is that they run through centralized entities like GoDaddy. And then they have DNS hacks. Yes, DNS has to be solved with this. IPFS is, of course, a solution for that, but pay attention to basically even DNS records of what you participate in. And then the actual information, the servers that the DNS records are pointing to, which are on a centralized entity, and then they point to a centralized server on something like AWS, Azure, or Google. And then you end up in a position where, well, okay, it's decentralized, but the infrastructure itself is not at the end of the day. From this perspective, the concept of decentralization is a tacky one. For example, on the one hand, Web3 is essentially built on blockchain technology in which cryptocurrency plays a critical role. On the other hand, the top stablecoins and exchanges remain centralized, while other seemingly Web3 projects still rely on service providers like Amazon Web Services and Microsoft Azure for their infrastructure. This raises serious questions about Web3 projects acting like a decentralized front, while in essence, the ecosystem is ruled by venture capitalists and large corporations. They say, but not Flux. Flux was created independently of funding from venture capitalists and offers a genuinely decentralized platform for the Web3 internet. Flux hosts its infrastructure and provides a secure hosting platform for other dApps. This way, developers can host the back-end resources and front-end framework of their apps on infrastructure free of absolute control. For Web3 to be feasible, there is a need for the dApps across different chains to be able to interact and exchange data. Cross-platform data portability is also the critical issue that has been raised regarding the question of digital identity in the Web3 world. With thousands of blockchains in the mix and more being developed, navigating across applications in the Web3 ecosystem would pose a severe challenge. Unfortunately, the segregation of Web3 projects is as good as sounding a death toll on the whole ecosystem itself. Cross-chain interoperability is such an essential Web3 need that FluxOS was designed to give web developers on the Flux ecosystem the ability to build interoperable dApps regardless of the native blockchain. What about concerns about the carbon footprint caused by blockchain projects and their impact on the environment? Flux's vision is not only to reduce the carbon footprint, but to create a highly sustainable green and carbon neutral ecosystem. While at the moment the network runs on an optimized proof of work model, there are ongoing plans for proof of useful work model that allows Flux to solve real-life computational problems using hash power. One of the goals of Web3 is an internet where users can truly own their data and stay away from the prying eyes of big tech. Another is the user personalized access to information and web resources. Interestingly, between these two goalposts lies a whirlpool. To provide personalized information to users, intelligence agents have to scour the internet and deliver contextually relevant information, which users can now access for precise data. Although this is inherently beneficial, it also is potentially provides sufficient opportunities for scammers, spammers, trolls, and hackers to access detailed information about their victims. Moreover, the lack of governing and security policies due to the relatively young age of Web3 raises serious safety concerns. To address this, Flux offers a highly encrypted platform that allows for seamless coexistence of privacy and security, while also providing tools that enable developers to create dApps with high resistance to infiltration and attacks. Security and privacy do not have to be mutually exclusive concepts in Web3, which is why Flux continues to build and deploy infrastructure for a secure web future. I think near the end, it's pretty much turns into a PR article, but I think it covered quite a few of the issues with Web3 that we run into. And Web3 is such a difficult term these days because Web3 is used for everything from NFT and DeFi to actual Web3 infrastructure and hosting dApps and applications applications essentially on the blockchain. And there's still quite a few things that need to be resolved, right? IPFS was a great step forward. And then I think really at the end of the day, storage, persistent storage in particular, will be the next big one, which in my interview with Daniel Keller, they said they are working on. So if Flux does figure that out, you are going to be seeing some pretty hefty, pump in value. Look, I'm not saying price of Flux. What I'm saying is, in my humble opinion, that is a value add to Flux overall. That doesn't mean increase in price, to be completely clear. Thanks for checking out this clip from the Crypto Mining Show. You can check out the full episode here or more crypto content down here. Also, I'd like you to check out my locals page at sonofatech.locals.com, where you can become a member for free or choose to be a $5 a month supporter that unlocks additional content.